Right, I am live. No intro for this one. We were doing some how-tos there. I ran out of time, but I'm back. So lots of questions about how to clean your cards. Thought I'd just touch on real quickly when you're still. We touched on it a little bit in one of our last videos onto which grading company to send to. We didn't touch too much on what is a suitable candidate for grading. Everyone obviously wants to get that BGS 10 or PSA 10. So look, there's a resource you can use. It's called Google. It's amazing. If you just type in here, I've typed in PSA grading standards. Click on that. The PSA website will tell you what constitutes a 10. Okay, so they talk about attributes: 4 perfectly sharp corners, sharp focus, full original gloss. A PSA Gem 10 must be free of any staining of any kind. Allowance may be made for slight printing imperfection. If it does not impair the overall appeal of the card, the image must be centered on the card with a tolerance not exceeding 55-45 to 60-40 on the front and 75-25 on the back. All right, for those who don't know what that means, if your border, I should have got one with it. I've got a heap of examples here. None of them have got borders. I need an optic card because they're easy. Oh, I might use this Charizard card. Use some snaps. Sorry, guys. I just had it in my hand. All right. It's probably a good one to give an example on because it's got a very clear border. See the blue border around the outside of that card? See how, just looking at this with your eye, you can see that this left-hand border is significantly skinnier than the right-hand side border. Now, if that was round numbers, let's just say make it 5 mil here and 5 mil here. That's 10. Okay, so a 50-50 border would be 5 mil on this side, 5 mil on this side. PSA allow a 60-40, which means I can have 6 mil on one side and 4 mil on the other, or 5.5 mil and 4.5 mil. Now, PSA are a little bit looser, or they used to be a little bit looser with this centering rule, is that if it doesn't affect the eye appeal, they call it the eye appeal of the card. Of course, over here, if it doesn't impair the overall appeal of the card. So if that was out and it was 62-48 or 65-35, if it was tougher to notice on the card, like a card that doesn't really have a border, like this Corkings card here, it's tougher to figure out where the centering is. You can still get a 10. When it's got a very defined border like that, and looking at this Charizard card based on this, you'd have to say it's not going to get a 10 based on the 55-60-40 rule. BGS is way harder on this one. BGS to get a 10, it's 50-50. If it's not mint, it ain't getting a 10. It drops straight down to a 9, 9.5. On this side of the Charizard card, you can see that same border here in the silver. I don't know if my camera is going to be good enough to pick it up. But the silver border on this side is thicker than the border on this side. Now, unfortunately, with cards like that with centering, you can't do anything with them. There's you can read about, especially with the vintage cards, guys trimming cards. No. If you trim a card, first of all, you ain't going to cut it like the way. So when they zoom in on these things, you will see that someone's cut this rather than being pressed out like they are in the machines. Plus, they measure them. If they measure your card up and it falls short, it ain't getting graded. You're in trouble. You're like blacklisted. Okay, if the card doesn't meet a certain size. All right, and there's nothing you can do about centering. 10, black label, John. Same as you. And anyone who sees me, I generally get a 10 for eye appeal. All right, so that's PSA 10. All right, to come down to, too far. To come to a 9, talks about here, centering must be 60-40, 65-30 or 35 better on the front. So our Charizard now is probably centering wise, maybe just scraping in there. It's just going to scrape in on that 65-35 maybe. Very slight wax stains on reverse and minor printing flaws. There's no wax stains or printing flaws on this card. All right, so there's a resource you can go and check to see, centering is the big one for me. The first thing I look at is centering. And if the card's not centered well, then I'm probably not going to consider it as a grading candidate, depending on the card, of course. If it's a really high-end one, we'll still have a look at it. The BGS scale, same thing. I just typed in, this come up on this coin website. They talk about here, so pristine 10, 50-50 on the front, 60-40 on the back. Corners are perfect, and then mint under magnification. Edges are perfect and very nearly free of flaws under magnification. Surfaces, no printing imperfections or spots. Flawless coloration, high gloss, no scratches or print lines. Focus is impeccable. BGS, I think, are harder to get that elusive 10 with. Right, in saying all that, a couple of things that will make your life easier when you are cleaning cards. And this works better with the iPhone, but I can't record with the iPhone. Magnifying lamp. Sorry, John, you're talking so much shit there, so now you got a serious question. Have you or do you know anyone who's sent cards for cleaning and appraisal, but the guy who is loosely associated with the hobby guys? I don't know what that means, mate. I'm not sure what you're asking. I'll get on with this and might have to reword that one for me. This is a magnifying lamp. All right. It's got a nice white light. The magnification on there, lift that lid up. I'll turn the light off because the camera won't like it. It's a magnifying thing in the side here. All right. So then, and I don't know whether or not how this is going to go. All right. So we'll grab this Caleb Houston card. And it's sort of working, I guess. See how it's pretty easy to see on a black card. See up the top across there, that whitening. Get that little thing out of the way. A little bit of white, just right on the edge of that pen there. It's a little bit of white going into that corner too. Come down to look at this corner. See how, again, we look at that corner there and see that, just that little bit of white. I hope that's coming up on the screen. Let's see what it looks like on Facebook. Oh, yeah. It's just a little bit of white. So that's what they call a soft corner. Okay, so that's not a great thing. The card itself, under magnification, when you look at it on these edges, it has a little bit of fluff. The surfaces on this card, though, look quite fine. Now, Court Kings last year had a rougher surface. I never had an issue with this. I got these microfiber cloths. That one's called Glass from Woolworths. They cost $2.95. It was a 3-pack. I don't know where the other one's gone. Well, John sounds like he knows what you're talking about. Are you just talking about just sending someone? Hobby, the guys reference on their website does cleaning appraisal. Oh, yeah. PSA Australia have a dude that will grade and will clean and give you an appraisal. He'll send you photos and everything. Say soft corner here or scratch mark here. I used the bloke before currently doing it, Lewis, I think his name was, and it was pretty cool, man. It was cheap. It was like $5. And he sent me heaps of photos. Like, I could never do that for $5. He's put a fair bit of effort in. Just in the photos and the message back to me. So there's quite a bit of effort going into that for $5. And it was fine, but I subbed like 300 cards. So, That's a significant amount of money when you're doing $5 a card at 300. It's $1,500 there. If you're hopeless at it, mate, it could mean the difference between getting a 9 or a 10. So you get your money back quite easily. But I just watched deeper videos and taught myself how to do it, and I'll do all my own cleaning now. Back onto these microfiber cloths. That's all I use. All right. Now, I'll put the card down. Now, I stopped wearing gloves because it was harder to know where my finger was in relation to the card. And a couple of times I was sort of holding the card and the edges got caught in the latex. Didn't do any damage. But I hold the edges when I'm doing it. And pretty simple process is that I can either use this to hold it down, or you can use whatever. You can do it all way. But I just start in the middle, just circles. And it's really important when you're doing this that you work from the inside out. Okay? You don't work from the outside in, because your cloth can pick up the edges, or especially the corners. If you're going to do corners, you start from the middle and you pull out and away from your corners, over the top of your corner and away. But start trying to go back in this way, and I got a shitty card here to do that on. Corey Kispert. If you're not careful, you can pick that edge up with your corner, right? And you start catching those edges on your cloth, and you're going to make that corner pretty soft. It's Corey Kispert, guys, and I don't care what you say. But we'll go back to this example. This particular one, it's a bit hard to see, but there is an excess wax. There's fingerprints all over this silver surface. So again, I hold it down on the edge, circles in the middle, work away from the edges. This is going to take out any excess wax. It's going to take your fingerprints off, and you'll find that'll take care of 99% of your problems. If you've got scratches or marks after that, there's not much you can do. I'll then just hold the edges of the card. Jumping on the plane, righto. Hold the edges of the card. It's important that you assess the back of it too. When you're looking under the lamp, you want to have a look there. Look for super fine scratches. Give that a wipe. I'm being super rough with this one, guys, because it's Corey Kispert. It's tough to see on this card, but it's got a little white fluff. I don't know if that lamp's going to be able to pick it up for us. So just using that tip of that pen, there's a bit of white fluff there. There's a bit of white fluff across there. There's a bit of white fluff there. Now, what I use is just a piece of sticky tape. Coil the sticky tape up. All right, and then super gently, I'm just going to tap on those white edges without pushing down on the card too hard. And then see, I don't know if you'll be able to see that. See all that white shit all over? This is a bit of sticky tape I've been using for a while. There's heaps of white fluff and bits of fluff all over that I've pulled off the edges of cards. You're just trying to make that card look as appealing as you can for the grader. From there, we won't touch the surfaces anymore. You need to go into a new sleeve. I don't care if it just come out of a fresh sleeve. Put it into a new sleeve. And then get yourself some grading toppies. I forget what they're called. Just the Ultra Pulse semi-rigids. Just makes it life a little bit easier for that grader to pull that card out. And that would go. That certainly won't go, but that would go the way it is there. So just touching on a few other cards. Thick cards are really tough, guys. Really, really tough. There's not much you can do about it. A lot of thick cards, you're going to pick up a lot of edge damage. Again, we'll see if this is good enough to pick it up. That corner there is very white. You see that? That's had some issues with it. It's got some issues with it. There's all whitening all across the bottom of that card. That corner you won't be able to see, but if you look under magnification, you can see that one's got a little bit of white on it too. And so is that one. So the four corners on this one straight away don't make it a very good candidate. It's a cheap card, so you're not going to send it anyway. Unfortunately, here's a bit better one. Not going to be rough for this one. These cards are renowned for it too, guys. Origins. Look under the magnifying. I knew these. The buyer disclosed it all. But again, top right, top left. Sorry, a little bit of whitening going on there. Across the top edge, there's a little bit of whitening going on across the top. The surfaces on this are smick. Hold it on a few different angles under that thing, and it's really nice. Centering, if we use the border on the back, we don't look too far hard. We don't look too far away. Tough to pick centering top to bottom on this because we don't have borders. It'll be something to do with the Rockets versus the top of the Origins, which would be our measuring points for centering wise. All that looks pretty minty, but the corners and the edges, well, the edges in particular on this card, are going to be a bit hard to get that elusive 10. All right. Anyone got any questions happening? It's not an in-depth process, guys. You just got to know what you're looking for and what you're looking at. Sometimes you'll find under that lamp that there'll be issues with a card that you didn't see before. There's not much you can do with centering. Here's another example of a card that's poorly centered. Now, select's a little bit harder to tell that a card's poorly centered, but the giveaway here is these two sides. So big, chunky patch of green there and a tiny, tiny little piece of green on that side. So that is probably 2 or 3 mil on that side versus probably 8 mil. So that'd be like an 80-20. Terrible. That'd be right down the grading scale there. So for PSA, we're dropping there right down to 5s and 6s. BGS, with the quad scores, if everything else on this was a minty 10, you'd still be only going down to like a 5, 5.5 because of the centering on the card. All right. Well, there's a bunch of people that were asking to do one on cleaning. So we'll just recap that real quick. We'll throw Giannis down there and get this out of the way. Microfiber cloths, magnifying lamp. It's going to show things that you couldn't see before. Like even just turn that lamp on there now, I can see there's all sorts of fluff going on the surface of that card. See all the fluff up here in the edges? Let's see if we can get it without showing too much glare. Yeah, I'll hold it too far up. See? Yeah, see all that? Got fluff everywhere. See that there? That's my fingerprint from holding onto the card. That just not going too bad, maybe. That's a fingerprint there. See that tiny little line there? That's a little surface scratch on the card. Heaps of fluff, so we can get rid of all the fluff by grabbing our microfiber cloth. If you're going to hold it with this other piece, make sure you have heaps of hang here. You don't want to pull up too tight on that corner. Sit it down, little circles, working away. Away from our edges. So all that fluff's now come off that card, which then means I can see. I need to just get a bit more of a fingerprint off. See my fingerprint's gone now. That fingerprint down there in that corner's gone. But that little tiny little scratch just there. So that comes down to eye appeal. Now, my eye's drawn to it now because I've seen it. I didn't pick it up before. There's actually another little scratch up here on the top too. So yeah, another card. Was already not a good grading candidate because of the centering, but there's a couple of little surface issues with that card too, which makes it no good. Righto, doesn't seem to be any other questions. I'll wrap it up. We've got a couple of minis there, guys. If anyone wants to jump on them, if not, cool. I'm not looking forward to going back to work tomorrow. I'm sure no one is. Ugh. Righto, see ya.